Hello, I'm Olly and this is CriminOlly, where I talk about crime, pulp, horror, that kind of thing. Today, vampires, cults and self-help. It's my weekly wrap-up. So it's a gloriously sunny day here in the UK where I am today. So much so, in fact, the sun was streaming through my window and highlighting the white in my beard. So I've had to pull my blind down a little bit. Right, let's talk about what I've been reading this week then. So it's been another relatively slow week for me reading-wise. I've only got two things I finished to talk to you about. Normally, I talk about far more books than that in my weekly wrap-ups, but at the moment, I'm just not reading quite as much as I normally do. I wouldn't go so far as to say that I'm in a slump. I'm definitely not. I'm still reading, but I'm doing other things as well. And the big project that I've been doing, that I think I touched on last week, is cataloguing all of my physical books. So I've finished that now, and I'm going to do a video, not in the coming week, but probably the week after that, talking about the process that I use. But yeah, it took quite a lot of time, but I've now got all of my physical books and all of my ebooks logged in Calibre, which is like a book management software. So they're all logged in there, and I've also got them synced to my phone, so I can view all of the information about them on my phone. So if I'm out and about and I need to know if I've got a book or not, I can easily see that. So it's worked very well indeed, but it was quite a long process. So yeah, look out for a video in the future where I talk about how I did that. Right, let's talk about what I finished this week then. So I finished one of the books that I talked about last week. So last week I talked about The Long Shift by Zachary von Hauser. I also finished the other book, or the other story that's in this collection, which is The Shuffling Night, which is a great title. This was longer than the Long Shift. So The Long Shift, I think, was about 60, 70 pages, something like that. The Shuffling Night was 150. It was great. Really, really creepy and effective. So like The Long Shift, it kind of blends what I'd call a fairly straightforward, like everyday style of writing, an everyday set of circumstances, with kind of eldritch creeping horror. It was very, very effective. So this one's about a guy who has bought a house in an auction, like sight unseen. So he hasn't seen the house, but he needs somewhere to live. He's bought the house, he moves in, there's loads of junk in the basement from people who've lived there previously. And as the story progresses, he starts having weird dreams, and like there's clearly something creepy going on with the house. And that sense of dread just ramps up and up and up as the story goes on. What's really impressed me about these stories is the way Zachary von Hauser switches his prose style from being, as I say, quite straightforward, quite kind of a, almost like a, not exactly hard boiled, but the stories kind of read a bit like crime stories. It's that style of quite simple prose that kind of keeps out of the way, into a more Lovecraftian style of prose, which is like really, really effective. And like with Lovecraft, you almost feel like Zachary von Hauser has experienced this weird other world that he is now describing to you. And he manages to switch between those two styles of prose without it being really, really jarring. Very, very effective stuff. I really enjoyed both of these. Some people asked me in the comments on my video last week where they could get this, because they tried to look for it and hadn't been able to find it. I'll leave a link in the description to the video to a site that you can order it from. But if you like, creepy Lovecraftian style horror, I definitely recommend it. The other thing I finished this week then was the CriminOlly book club pick for this month, which was also a creepy horror story, albeit a much longer one. So this was Last Days by Adam L.G. Nevill, which was really, really good. So I am going to do a full review of this, but it was a very enjoyable and effective horror story. I went into it with a slight misconception. So I knew it was about like a movie, and I thought it was like a cursed movie style of story, and it isn't. It's about a guy who is hired to make a documentary about a cult. So this cult that operated in the UK and then in the US in kind of the 60s and 70s. And it's like a well-known cult. It's a bit like kind of the Manson family or something like that, or like Jim Jones's cult in wherever Jim Jones's cult was, Jonestown. And previous films and books have been written about this, but the guy who approached him says, none of them have ever really done it right. So he he's lined up, the guy who hires him, this guy called Max, has lined up various people for him to interview. And the main character, Carl, who's this documentary filmmaker, and his buddy who helps him make the films, travel round. So they go to someone in the UK in London, to France, and then ultimately to the US. And are gradually trying to piece together, the pieces of what happened with this cult. And as things progress, there's clearly something supernatural going on, and it gets creepier and creepier and creepier. It was very, very enjoyable. The end wasn't quite what I was expecting, but I still enjoyed it. But overall, yeah, Adam Nevill does a great job of just building dread in his stories and showing you like hints of things that gradually come together as the story progresses. So yeah, another really good book from him. The other thing, so two other things that I'm reading this week, one of which came out this week. So this is They Own the Night by Amy McCaw, which is kind of a YA 1980s set spin on the Dracula story. I am about a quarter of the way through, maybe a bit more than that. Yeah, actually exactly a quarter of the way through. And I'm really enjoying it so far. It's easy reading, as you'd expect from a YA book, but the way she like teases parts of the Dracula story is really effectively done, and there are some interesting characters. So there's like a brother and sister at the centre of this. The brother is a music journalist and is a bit more kind of flighty, I guess you would say. The sister runs a radio show that talks about true crime. Their dad was a serial killer. And she's like at the bit I'm at the moment, she's being interviewed by the police about some disappearances on the university campus that they both attend. It's just a fun read. I'm enjoying it a great deal, and it's got loads of nice kind of 1980s movie references as well. So yeah, that's a good one. And then the other thing I'm reading is something completely different. So a book that was recommended by my therapist, which I'm enjoying a lot. So it's called, enjoy maybe is the wrong word. I'm finding it interesting and useful. So it's called The Happiness Trap, and it's by a doctor called Russ Howard, and it's about how we can fall into traps in our ways of thinking that I suppose give us short-term happiness but don't give us long-term happiness, and that end up causing us more problems basically. So I'm only a little bit in. I'm on, I think, the third or fourth chapter, but yeah, very interesting so far. I'll let you know when I've finished it my full thoughts on it. So if it sounds like something that will be interesting and useful for you, you can check it out. If it sounds like something that would help. I'm not normally someone who reads self-help books, but obviously I've been going through a bit of mental turmoil recently, should we say, and felt the need for it, and it definitely feels like it's something that could help, along with therapy, of course. There's no what's the word I'm looking for? No substitute for having a good therapeutic conversation with a professional person. So I certainly wouldn't recommend just relying on self-help books, because they do only give you a particular part of the puzzle. Right, anyway, so that's the book stuff done. We are nearly at the end of the month. I'll definitely be finishing They Own the Night this month, and we'll try and fit in something else before the end of the month as well. But it's definitely been a slower reading month for me than they normally are, and certainly much slower than August, where I read a ridiculous amount of books, albeit all of them very, very trashy. So moving on to video stuff then. So in the last week from me, you've had a video that's done far better than I expected, called what did I call it? I think it's called something like The 10 Best Films Ever Made Were All Made Between 1982 and 1987. So I've had a lot of comments on that video, particularly I think from people who hadn't seen my work, shall we say, before, who got recommended it by the algorithm, who were questioning my sanity. So it's a list of 10 films I think are really, really great, 10 films that are meaningful to me, that I really enjoy. I don't necessarily hand on heart believe they are the 10 best films ever made, let's put it that way. But they're all films that I think are definitely worth watching. So you've had that. You had my video talking about the fact it was the 4th anniversary of the channel this week. Amazingly, I never expected to last anywhere near this long. So if you've been along for the ride, for all 4 years, or you've only joined more recently, thank you very much for being part of the channel. The people who watch and the people who comment are as much a part of the channel as I am. So thank you. And then you also had my review of Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin, which is a book I wasn't expecting to enjoy, but which I absolutely loved. In the week ahead then, as we are nearing the start of October and Occult Detective October, you'll get my TBR for the month, which I've kind of locked down now. I've got a pretty good idea of what I'm going to be trying to read. You're going to get a book haul video. So I did say in my last book haul video, I was going to try and stop doing, buying quite so many books. Well, temptations have been put in my way. Let's put it that way. So I have ended up buying quite a few books, and I reveal those in a book haul video, which I have filmed, so that will definitely be going up this week. And then you'll probably get a review of Last Days as well. As I say, there are a couple of other videos I'm hoping to get filmed in the next few days, so those will be going up on early access, which you can get if you are subscribed to me as a YouTube channel member or one of my patrons on Patreon. Links to both of those in the description. So I'm going to be doing a review of King Sorrow by Joe Hill, so that should be going up on early access. The actual review will go up the week the book comes out, which I think is in kind of mid-October, so it'll go up on public access then, and also the video talking about my kind of journey in terms of cataloguing all of my books. So that will go up on early access probably this week, and then the following week for everyone else. So that's me done for the week. Hope you've had a good reading week. Let me know what you've been reading. Let me know if you've read any of the books I talked about. Day and the Night, as I said, is just out this week. If you've got a young person in your life who likes horror, so based on what I've read so far, I'd definitely recommend it for them. And equally, if you like a bit of YA yourselves, it's a fun read. So yes, let me know what you've been reading, and as always, thanks very much for watching. Hope you're safe and well out there. Hope you're reading good stuff, and I'll speak to you again very soon. Cheerio.